The situation of Larry Caputo, the ex-husband of Long Island medium Theresa Caputo, is now extremely critical. He has suddenly become terribly ill. The liver cancer in his stomach is spreading rapidly, which has doctors deeply concerned. The doctors have said that his condition is very serious. As his condition deteriorated, he was quickly transferred to the ICU, and there was no option but emergency surgery. But doctors still can't give any guarantees. Even if the surgery is successful, everyone thinks Larry's life will be in danger. Now she stands on the brink of death, and this difficult time is one of deep sorrow and grief for Theresa and those close to her. Larry Caputo's deterioration is not just a medical crisis. It's a heartbreaking moment where the uncertainty of life becomes clear. The winter sky over Long Island was a dull gray, the kind that pressed its weight down on the world and made everything feel heavier than it already was. Inside St. Brookline Medical Center, the air hung thick with fear, antiseptic, and the soft, rhythmic beeping of machines trying to keep one man alive. Larry Caputo had always been strong. He had been the one who handled chaos with a calm mind, who laughed loudly, hugged tightly, and lived freely. But now, as he lay still in the ICU, wires tangled around his frail body, his strength felt like a distant memory. Theresa Caputo stood outside the glass window of his room, her hands trembling. Her signature blonde hair wasn't styled, her makeup was barely touched. She looked like a woman who had been battling an invisible storm for days. The cancer has spread aggressively. We're preparing for emergency surgery. But we cannot guarantee anything. Even for someone who had spent her life helping others through grief, loss, and the mysteries of the afterlife, Theresa felt unprepared for this moment. This wasn't a client. This wasn't a stranger seeking closure. This was Larry, her first love, the father of her children, the man who had shaped decades of her memories. Their marriage hadn't lasted, but their bond had, unique, complicated, and unbreakable. As she stood there, her daughter Victoria arrived, breathless and wide-eyed. "Mom, is he?" she whispered, not able to finish the sentence. Theresa wrapped an arm around her daughter. "He's fighting, sweetheart. He's fighting the hardest battle of his life." Inside the room, Larry's chest rose and fell, uneven and weak. Machines hummed, a reminder that his body was struggling to do what it once did effortlessly. Theresa had always been sensitive to energy, the air, the vibrations, the whispers of spirits. But today, everything felt different, heavy, dense, unpredictable. She closed her eyes and focused, wanting desperately to feel something: guidance, reassurance, a sign. And then she felt a presence. Not bright and warm like the happy spirits she often encountered. Not soft and nostalgic like departed loved ones. This was different, deep, towering, almost protective. A voice echoed in her mind, faint but steady. "He's not ready to go." Theresa's breath caught. She whispered aloud, "Then help him, please." She didn't know who she was speaking to: an angel, a guide, a spirit. All she knew was that something beyond this world was close, watching. Moments later, alarms went off inside Larry's room. Nurses rushed in. A doctor shouted orders. Victoria froze. "Mom, what's happening?" Theresa grabbed her hand. "They're taking him to surgery. Stay calm. He needs us to stay strong." The hallway turned into chaos. The surgical team wheeled Larry out, his body limp, his face pale. Theresa walked beside the stretcher, fighting tears. As they reached the doors of the operating room, a surgeon stopped her. "Mrs. Caputo, Theresa," he said gently. "This operation is risky. The cancer has damaged major vessels. There could be complications. We'll do our best." Theresa nodded, swallowing the panic. "Please, just bring him back to us." And then the doors closed. Silence swallowed everything. Theresa and Victoria sat in the waiting room for hours that felt like days. Victoria cried quietly. Theresa held her, all the while whispering prayers, begging the universe for mercy. The spirits around her flickered like shadows. Some whispered comfort. Others remained quiet, as if even they were unsure what fate had planned. At one point, Theresa looked up and said, softly, "If there's anything I can give, any piece of my strength, take it, give it to him." Her voice cracked. A tear fell. She wasn't Theresa Caputo, Long Island medium, in that moment. She was just a woman who was terrified of losing someone she loved. Suddenly, the room grew cold. Theresa lifted her head. A presence formed, gentle, familiar, loving. "Theresa," the voice murmured, warm like a memory, "he's not alone. He's being guided. Whatever happens, he will not suffer." Theresa felt her heart shake. Is he going to die?" The spirit didn't answer directly. Instead, she whispered, "Trust what you feel, not what you fear." And just as quickly, the presence faded. The doors finally opened. Theresa and Victoria stood instantly. The lead surgeon walked toward them, exhaustion etched into his face. For a moment, neither woman breathed. "We managed to stop the internal bleeding. The surgery was complicated, far more than we expected." He paused. "But Larry survived the operation." Victoria let out a sob of relief. Theresa closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Thank God." The surgeon raised a hand gently. "He's not out of danger yet. The next 48 hours are critical. His body is very weak, but he's fighting." Theresa nodded, tears falling freely now. "That's Larry. He always fights." Later that night, Theresa finally entered Larry's ICU room again. He looked fragile, but alive. She sat beside him, took his hand, and whispered, "Larry, you scared us, but you're still here. You're still fighting, and I'm right here with you." For a moment, barely noticeable, Larry's fingers twitched around hers. Theresa gasped softly. She knew it wasn't an accident. It was a message. A quiet, powerful message. "I'm still here." As the night deepened, Theresa closed her eyes and rested her forehead against Larry's hand. She didn't know what the next hours would bring, hope or heartbreak, survival or goodbye. Whatever happened, this moment, the fragility of life, the strength of love, the thin line between this world and the next would stay with her forever. And as she whispered a final prayer, she felt the same presence from earlier, strong, protective, surrounding them both, keeping watch in the quiet, trembling darkness. However, the backstage hallway of The View was buzzing with excitement in a way that even seasoned producers found unusual. Camera operators hurried past with freshly charged batteries, makeup artists darted back and forth with brushes in both hands, and the energy felt electric, almost like a static wave was rolling through the studio. Why? Because the Long Island medium herself, Theresa Caputo, was about to appear on the show, not just for an interview, but for a live reading of two of the most charismatic women on daytime television, Ana Navarro and Sunny Hostin. Theresa arrived in her signature style, platinum hair teased high, heels that announced her presence before she even entered a room, and an energy that seemed to shift the air around her. "Where do you want me?" Theresa asked lightheartedly as a producer guided her to a quiet corner backstage. "We'll mic you up in 5, the producer said. "Sunny and Anna are excited and nervous." Theresa smiled knowingly. "Oh, honey, they always are." The curtain parted and Theresa took her place beside the co-hosts on the brightly lit stage. The audience roared with applause, some cheering like they were at a concert, not a talk show. Sunny Hostin gave Theresa a warm hug, while Ana Navarro held her hand dramatically to her chest. "You know I'm already afraid," Anna joked. "If a spirit throws shade at me, I'm walking off." The audience laughed. Sunny, more composed but clearly intrigued, leaned forward. "Theresa, you've never read either of us before, correct?" "Nope," Theresa said. "So whatever comes through, you're hearing it with me for the first time." The studio fell quiet. Theresa tilted her head, eyes half closed, fingers lightly tapping the table, her signature movement when she sensed someone. I'm getting a man," she whispered. "Anna, this is for you." Anna sat up straight, nervous laughter fading. "This man is loud," Theresa continued. "Funny, stubborn, thinks he's always right. He's saying, tell her I still watch over her when she argues on TV." Anna's face changed instantly. Her eyes glistened. "That's my uncle," she said softly. He passed away before I moved to the US. He always teased me for being dramatic. Theresa nodded. Honey, he's right here, and he's showing me a tie. Something special about a tie. Anna gasped. He gave me his favorite tie when I left Nicaragua. I still have it in a drawer. The audience awed, emotional, and surprised. He wants you to know he's proud of you, Theresa added. He says you fought so hard to have a voice, and you're using it. Anna wiped a tear, whispering, "Thank you." Before Sunny could even speak, Theresa turned to her suddenly like someone tapped her shoulder from behind. "Sunny, I'm getting a very strong motherly energy." Sunny's lips parted. She sat completely still. "This woman is beautiful," Theresa said softly. "Strong, elegant. She keeps showing me pearls. Do pearls mean something to you?" Sunny's eyes filled instantly. "My grandmother," she whispered. "She always wore pearls. Every day, even at home." Theresa's hand moved again, lightly tapping the table. "She's saying you're carrying on her legacy. You're the voice she never got to have. She's showing me a notebook? Something written?" Sunny inhaled sharply. "I have her handwritten recipes. I keep them in my kitchen." "She loves that you kept them," Theresa said with a warm smile. "And she says she still smells the food when you cook from them." The audience reacted with emotional applause. Sunny reached out and took Theresa's hand. "Can I ask, does she know about my kids?" Sunny whispered. Theresa closed her eyes again. She says, "Of course I do. I visit them in their dreams." Sunny broke. Tears slid down her face as the audience sat in silence. Theresa suddenly straightened up, her expression shifting. Okay, hold on. This is unusual," she said, glancing between Sunny and Anna. "I'm getting someone who's connected to both of you." Anna laughed through her tears. "We barely have friends in common. A spirit too?" Theresa shrugged. "Well, they're insisting. This is a strong activist energy. Someone who fought hard, for fairness, justice, and equality." Sunny's eyes widened. "Is it?" Theresa lifted a hand. "This woman says she inspired both of you. She's referencing marches, powerful speeches." Anna breathed. "My grandmother was involved in activism." Sunny added, "So was mine." Theresa smiled. "And they're standing together. They're showing me two hands joining. They're saying, 'We helped create the path you walk together now.'" The audience erupted into applause, some visibly moved. As the reading came to an end, the atmosphere in the studio had shifted entirely. Even the crew behind the cameras were wiping their eyes. "Theresa," Sunny said, voice still trembling, "this was profound." Anna nodded. "I'm shook. Completely shook." Theresa laughed warmly. "Listen, I don't do anything. I just deliver messages. But your loved ones? Honey, they were loud today." Before the segment ended, Theresa placed her hands gently over both women's. "One last thing," she said. "Both of you have spirits who want you to know you're exactly where you're meant to be. Your voices, your strength, your courage. Keep using them." The audience stood and applauded, giving a rare standing ovation in the middle of the show. Sunny and Anna hugged Theresa tightly as the cameras faded out to commercial. However, the studio lights at TLC's Long Island Medium set glowed a warm gold that afternoon. Theresa Caputo stood backstage, her signature blonde hair perfectly brushed upward like a crown, her long nails tapping rhythmically against the index card she wasn't even reading. She never needed notes. Spirit was her script. Today's episode was supposed to be fun, light, and filled with laughter. Fashion icon and TV personality. Carson Kressley was coming in for what producers believed would be a quick, upbeat reading. He wasn't grieving a parent or spouse. He wasn't dealing with a heavy trauma. At least, that's what everyone assumed. But as soon as Carson stepped into the room, Theresa felt it. A cold sweep of air crossed her shoulder, and the tiny hairs on her arm rose. "Oh boy," she whispered to herself. This wasn't going to be light, not at all. Carson walked in wearing a sharp pastel blue blazer with soft pink lining, full of his usual sparkle and positivity. "Hello, Theresa. You look fabulous," he said with a broad smile. Theresa hugged him warmly. "Spirit's already chatting away," she said. "And let me tell you, somebody is very excited you're here." Carson laughed. "Well, I hope they're friendly." Theresa gave him a look. Soft, sympathetic. Oh, honey, this one loves you more than life. They both sat on the comfy chairs arranged for the reading, cameras rolling but quietly respectful. Carson crossed his legs elegantly, hands folded neatly as he prepared himself. Theresa inhaled sharply. I keep hearing a guy saying, "Tell him I miss our ridiculous nights and the dumb jokes I always made." Theresa continued, channeling rapidly. He's showing me a bar maybe, late nights, lots of laughter, you guys almost falling off stools laughing. Carson's eyes softened. Oh my God, Theresa, that sounds like Evan. Theresa nodded. He passed suddenly, right? Like, one minute he was here, the next minute he wasn't. Carson swallowed hard. Yes, a freak accident. He was only 38. The studio fell so silent that every breath echoed. Theresa leaned in, her voice gentle. He says the two of you had this bond, not just friendship, but like, he was your anchor. He says you helped him love who he was. Carson blinked away tears. We were inseparable for years. He was my person, my comfort zone. Theresa pressed her hand to her chest. He loved you, deeply, and he says you gave him confidence when he felt like the world judged him. Suddenly, Theresa gasped and began laughing, a rare reaction in a heavy reading. What? What is it? Carson asked through teary chuckles. He's showing me, oh my God, he's showing me that he used to tease you about your hair products. He's like, tell him that pomade smelled like fruit salad. Carson burst out laughing. Yes, he used to say my hair smelled like a tropical smoothie. Theresa wiped her eyes mirthfully. He is literally cracking up on the other side. Same humor, same sass. Then Theresa's expression shifted. She placed a hand over her heart. He says you feel guilty, like you could have done something. Like you should have been there that night? Carson's smile faded, and he looked down at his lap. I told him to call me, Carson whispered. He went out alone. I felt like I should have been with him. Theresa reached out and touched his knee. No, Spirit is very clear. It wasn't Carson's job to save me. Do you understand? A tear spilled down Carson's cheek. He says you've been carrying this guilt in your chest like a knot, and he wants you to let it go. He says, tell Carson I choose joy, so he should choose joy too. Theresa continued. He says you stopped going to that place you two loved. What looks like maybe a small cafe or lounge? Yeah, Carson whispered. We used to go every Saturday. I haven't stepped foot inside since he passed. He says go. Go for him. Sit there. Laugh there. Live your life there. He'll be sitting right next to you. Carson nodded, tears streaming but with a peaceful smile. Suddenly, Theresa straightened up, almost startled. Oh, he says you still keep something of his? Something small, something silly, maybe a keychain or a piece of jewelry? Carson wiped his tears, smiling softly. A little rainbow keychain. He gave it to me on my birthday. He said it matched my personality. Theresa laughed. He says, thank God he kept it. I thought he threw it out because it was too tacky. Carson covered his face in laughter and grief mixed into one beautiful release. Theresa leaned forward as if listening to someone in the room. He has one last message. Carson lifted his head slowly. He says, tell Carson that the world is brighter because he's in it. And I'm still cheering him on every runway, every show, every moment. Carson breathed deeply, tears falling freely. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving him back to me for a moment. Theresa touched her chest. Spirit gives us what we need, not what we expect. And honey, your friend, he's with you every single day. However, the sun had barely risen over the sleepy streets of Huntington when Theresa Caputo stepped out of her house, her signature blonde hair already perfectly coiffed. She felt the familiar buzz in her chest, her sign that Spirit was close and the day ahead would not be an ordinary one. That morning, a special private reading had been scheduled at a serene yoga studio on Long Island. The studio, Sacred Path Yoga, was known for its soft candlelight, calming incense, and walls filled with hand-painted mandalas. A reading here felt different, lighter, but also heavier with emotion. The client's name was Maya Ortiz, a 32-year-old yoga instructor whose life had been abruptly shaken 3 months earlier when her mentor and beloved teacher, Devin Master Rao, passed away unexpectedly due to a cardiac arrest during a meditation retreat in India. Maya had fallen into a deep spiritual silence, shutting off from friends, avoiding her students, and merely going through the motions of life. She agreed to the reading only because a close friend had insisted, saying, "If anyone can help you reconnect and heal, it's Theresa." When Theresa arrived at the studio, she paused by the door, feeling a strong pull of energy. "Oh boy," she said out loud, flipping her hair. "Spirit's been waiting for me." The moment she stepped inside, the scent of sandalwood filled the air. Maya stood near the back of the studio, hands folded, shoulders tense. Her eyes had the exhaustion of someone carrying grief that hadn't been spoken aloud. "Hi, sweetheart," Theresa said warmly. "Thank you for having me here today." Maya offered a faint smile. "I don't know what to expect, but I'm glad you came." The two settled on meditation cushions on the wooden floor. Soft instrumental music played in the background. No more than 30 seconds passed before Theresa's eyes widened. "Oh, okay, this is interesting," she said, tapping her chest. She looked at Maya. "Honey, the minute I sat down, a man stepped forward. Very peaceful energy, strong, calm presence, like someone who's led a group, someone guiding others." Maya's breath hitched. "That sounds like my teacher." Theresa nodded, eyes closed as she listened to Spirit. "He keeps placing his hand on your shoulder. Right here." She reached out and gently touched Maya's right shoulder. "He says you carry too much guilt. Why would he show me this?" Maya covered her face and began to cry softly. "I wasn't with him when he passed. He always told me to join him on retreats, but that last time I stayed here because I was busy reopening the studio, I feel like I should have been there." Theresa inhaled sharply. "Oh my God, sweetheart. He just said you were exactly where you were meant to be. He's not upset. He's proud of you." Suddenly, Theresa began moving her hands as though someone was adjusting her posture. "He's correcting my spine, like lifting me upright. He's showing me how you sit during meditation. He says, 'Tell her she has forgotten to breathe from her heart.'" Maya let out a trembling laugh. "That's exactly what he used to tell me." Theresa continued. "He keeps giving me images of dawn, the first light, and he says that's when you connect with him the strongest. He shows me you sitting on your mat before sunrise, but then walking away before you finish." Maya nodded tearfully. "I haven't completed a full meditation since he died. It's too painful." Theresa's voice softened. "He wants you to know he's been sitting with you every single morning. He says, when she feels the breeze, it's me. When the bell rings early, it's me. He's not gone from your practice." Theresa suddenly gasped. "He's showing me a wooden mala with one bead cracked. Do you know about that?" Maya's eyes widened. "Yes. Oh my God. The mala he gave me the day I became an instructor. One bead cracked when I dropped it last month. I was terrified it was a bad sign." Theresa shook her head firmly. No, sweetheart. He's smiling about it. He says, a cracked bead means the circle of learning has reopened, not closed." Maya broke down again, the weight of months of grief finally collapsing. As the session neared its end, Theresa felt Spirit's energy shift into a peaceful stillness. "He's sitting cross-legged now," Theresa said, weaving her fingers together. "Hands in prayer. He says, 'Tell her the student is ready even when she thinks she isn't.'" Maya whispered through her tears. "That's exactly what he told me the first day I met him." Theresa placed a hand over her heart. "He says one more thing. He says, 'Teach not to replace me. Teach to honor me.'" Maya sobbed openly, this time with relief, not despair. Theresa asked Maya to close her eyes and take a slow inhale. As the soft golden afternoon light filtered in through the windows, Maya suddenly felt something she hadn't felt in months, a calming warmth at her back, like a gentle hand placed just behind her spine. She didn't need to open her eyes to know who it was. When Maya finally exhaled, her breath didn't shake for the first time since the day of her mentor's passing. Theresa smiled, her voice soft but triumphant. "There you go, sweetheart, that's him. That's your teacher." Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. I hope your day is so well. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel